Welcome, healthy friends, to the Reality of Health podcast. Today we're talking about autoimmune disease. Do you know how many people actually deal with this situation? Well, it's a lot. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to diagnose anything. I'm just giving you a new perspective on the way you might want to consider what health really is. Hence, the name of this podcast. Would you say people actually get sick? I would. Of course they do. Are they sick from what they tell you they're sick from? They say we have an immune system. They say we have antibodies that protect us from foreign invaders like viruses and bacteria. Another quick disclaimer. I might sound a little sarcastic in this episode, and I pretty much probably am going to. There are many doctors and many specialists that specialize in all kinds of autoimmune conditions. And by the way I counted them, there's 111 different autoimmune conditions. Specialists may say that antibodies that your body made to fight an invader have now turned against you, causing an inflammatory response associated with the tissue that is being harmed. Just my opinion, that's a theory. Because those antibodies are flipped, it makes you feel terrible in whatever area of the body that has been targeted. Let's say your nerves, or your joints, or your digestive system. They say your immune system is confused. Serious question. Do you honestly believe that your immune system gets confused? Now, the consensus is, through this process, and the area of your body is either being slightly or moderately destroyed, or there's inflammation in the area, causing you discomfort. Basically, what they're saying is you have antibodies that are attacking your own tissue. What if antibodies are actually there to clean up the dead and dying tissue? Spoke of the terrain theory recently. Well, that theory doesn't believe the antibodies are there as a response to an infection from a virus or your immune system deciding to attack your own body. Antibodies are just construction workers. They show up to clean up the mess and repair tissue. It's super simple, very easy. It's actually quite elegant. Don't worry, we're going to talk about it. So if somebody with this disease has elevated antibodies, what does it mean about people who have elevated antibodies with no symptoms or disease? And then they say you have a specific autoimmune condition, but you might or might not have the antibodies. What?
You explain it to me.
Then they say you can find antibodies years before you develop any symptoms or right when you start with symptoms. Okay, this is where I'm shaking my head. Then they say it's not the antibodies. It's the subclass antibodies. They just keep kicking the can down the road because they can't prove any of it. Then they say only a percentage of the people with the autoimmune disease actually have a specific antibody. So not everyone, just a percentage, anywhere from 10 to 50% on average. Again, I'm shaking my head.
This is crazy.
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
So you're saying the antibody causes the disease, but then it's only in half the people at max with the disease? Does that make any sense? What about the other 50%? Are they even sick with disease?
We might have a problem. What's that?
So what they're saying is not everybody has antibodies associated with this disease, and then some people that have the disease have the antibodies, and then normal people without the disease also have antibodies associated with that disease.
I see what you did there.
And of course, they take the antibodies out of one person and put it into another person, guess what? They don't get sick, just like viruses. Next question would be, how come? Your entire life, no symptoms, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have autoimmunity. What triggered the autoimmunity? If it's always been there, what's the trigger? Did you know that John Hopkins Pathology Division states, for the most part, we still do not know what causes an autoimmune disease? Okay, this is where you may ask yourself, what? They don't know why certain tissues are targeted and not others. Here is an actual direct quote they said. It's a conundrum of specificity.
What did you just say?
I can translate that for you. It's a theory. It's all theory. Then they say finally, quote, convincing evidence of classical autoimmune diseases is lacking despite decades of studies, unquote. You know, they just can't admit that antibodies don't cause autoimmune disease. The proverbial kicking the can down the road. All right, I'll calm down. So there's actually a few reasons why you get sick. Poor nutrition, trauma, like you got in a car accident or whatever, poisoning, or mentally thinking you do because of genetics. I didn't do anything to deserve this disease. I inherited it. We're going to have an upcoming episode on genetics. Which one of those are you if you have an autoimmune disease? One of the worst things you can do is keep telling yourself and others that you have a disease, an autoimmune condition. It just keeps reinforcing that nonsense that you have an autoimmune situation. When really, what you have is your body trying to heal itself from one of those 4 reasons I just mentioned. I've spoken this many times. Your mind can definitely control your health. Don't keep telling yourself you have something that doesn't exist. How about flipping that switch and start saying the reality of your situation, which is, I feel this way because my body is trying to heal itself. Or, I have the symptoms because my body, in its infinite wisdom, is doing what it needs to do to be better. Isn't that a much better way to live? And in case of poor nutrition, well, it's simple. Get better nutrition. I've talked about better nutrition for more than 70 episodes. You need to eat better. Eric, what is eating better? Well, quit eating garbage food. Stop eating processed food. Lower the amount of sugar you eat. Lower the amount of overall carbs that you normally consume. Small changes will add up to huge benefits. Stop drinking too much. Or at least you could also stop drinking soda pop or eating ice cream or any other high sugar substances. They're detrimental to your health. I know that nobody wants to get rid of the fun foods. I get it. If you're doing 90-95% really awesome and you want a little bit of ice cream on Friday night, it's not a big deal. But every night, that's a big deal. All right, quickly. The more carbs and sugar you intake, the more it eats up all the good nutrition that your body needs to be healthy. Let's take vitamin C as one of those. You only need large amounts of vitamin C if you're consuming carbs and sugar. Otherwise, you only need a small amount. We'll get into vitamin C in the future. Now, you can detox to get rid of the poisoning, which I spoke of earlier. You can eat better to increase your nutrition. And you can be more positive in your mental attitude by flipping that switch. That switches your body into doing what it needs to do to be healthy rather than I have no control. This is what is happening to me. It's not my fault. I'm doomed. The end is near. No, many things can help you heal. Herbs, homeopathy, diet, seeing a natural health practitioner. An autoimmunity condition is purely your body just trying to heal itself. It is not caused by some unforeseen, super tiny thing out to get you. Just like viruses aren't real, antibodies do not target the tissues of your body. Regardless of what you've been told to believe, this is a new way to see how amazingly awesome your body is at repairing itself. You are not at war with unforeseen outward or inward pathogens out to get you. It's simply your body's healing response, and it is a beautiful thing. I want to thank you for listening. Now go take care of yourselves.